Public spat has developed over the state and future of an iconic macrocarpa hedge. After it emerged today, Kapiti District Council arborists turned out without warning last week and chopped the hedge back to wood. Kapiti District Mayor K. Guru Nathan told Checkpoint last night the council had been asking the owners Vince and Rachel Osborne to cut back the 80-year-old hedge since 2004, and it had been forced to act after the Osbornes' elderly neighbours complained they couldn't see around it to drive safely into the road. But today, owner Rachel Osborne told us the couple had gone out of their way to placate the elderly neighbours, and she says the mayor has made it personal.
I'm just sort of I've been in the past a bit somewhat reluctant to speak out because I lead a community organisation, and this is dependent on public funding, and we receive a very small amount from KCDC. So I hope that, our organisation is not going to be compromised by me actually speaking out, and I just really need to put that on the table. The mayor, and this is about the mayor inappropriately using his position and publicly vilifying us through his mayoral column on the Kapiti News on the 22nd of March, and then on Stuff where he, last Saturday, where he said we were blackmailing him. That's pretty extreme and strong statements. And then last night, you mentioned, Sharon, that we needed since 2004 to know about cutting the hedge. That's a completely separate situation. And what happened in 2004 was there was a subdivision that was put in right next door to us. And where they put the road, and we consented to that because, that was fine, but we came to, after it had been consented and gone through, we found that they wanted us to take the hedge out, and we consented to that because, that was fine, but we came to, after it had been consented and gone through, we found that they wanted us to take the hedge out because it didn't comply with the safety lines. I mean, the traffic then was a 70k area, but at the end of the day, and we cut the hedge back so that it did comply. At the end of the day, that was signed off by KCDC, and that was addressed. It passed everything. And KCDC was supposed to put in a pedestrian crossing from Fairway Oaks, across the road, and a stop giveaway sign, and I don't think that's actually happened. So he's selecting little bits out of pieces all over the place and giving half-truths, not actually giving the full picture. The issue here is more than the hedge. It's about the democratic process of actually consultation, being heard, having the ability and the opportunity to present the facts and to work through them as a community. I totally take on board 82's concerns about the hedge, and we met once with the mayor and a representative from KCDC. At that time, they already had a predetermined outcome, and at that time we said we'd like to get an independent assessment because the issue then was the safety issue out of Fairway Oaks and the subdivision and out of 82 Tijuana Road. So we agreed at that meeting that we would cut that hedge back there so that the people coming out of their drive were not compromised. I totally get where they were coming from. And we said we would cut it back, we would go and see them and see if that was appropriate. We did cut it back, and we went and saw them, and they said they were told by council not to speak to us. So,
Rachel, when was that?
That was, that was probably quite early on, maybe about April.
April this year.
When you saw Vince, when he cut that end back.
And was that not good enough? I mean, did Vince not do enough?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know whether that was good enough.
But the mayor is saying that the council has had a formal complaint from some neighbours and that it has to do something about it. And it's also concerned because this road is getting busier and busier and it's just not safe the way it is.
Well, let's just talk about the safety issues. Okay, the safety issues were first identified as being Fairway Oaks and 82 Tijuana Road. So what we did was we actually got an engineer who has a PhD. He tutors at Auckland University. He's very expert in this area, and he said that the safety issue coming out of Fairway Oaks that complied, that the council did not use the New Zealand Astro roading standards. And by him using the correct Astro roading standards which are used in Australia and New Zealand, it complied. Now, we cut the hedge back at 82. Then they moved and said there was no pedestrian access. Well, there is no pedestrian access there's no footpath all of the way up to Moana Road.
Did you know that the hedge was going to be cut back last Wednesday?
No, they didn't tell us when they came to cut it. We weren't informed that they were coming. And the other time where they sort of did a dawn raid was we were trying to present the report to them, and they knew that we were trying to tee up an appropriate time, and they came in and sneakily tried to cut it down before we could present the original report.
Well, listening to that is the Kapiti Mayor Kay Guru Nathan. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Did the council tell the Osbornes it was coming last Wednesday to cut the hedge?
Look, like I said before, when council receives complaints of safety issues, we have to act. There are complaints from the neighbours, and so the trees are planted on council land, and therefore anything that happens, council is liable. That's
did the council tell the Osbornes it was coming last Wednesday?
So what would have happened then if you had told them? They would have got cars lined up to stop council from taking action, and what? Do we then call the police? Well, the police got better things to do.
Is that yes or no? So the council didn't tell the Osbornes. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the council did tell them that we will have to take action.
But not last Wednesday?
No, we didn't tell them by the minute or by the second or by the hour. No, we don't have to.
Rachel Osborne says that you've inappropriately used your position as mayor to publicly vilify them. You're quoted in Fairfax last Friday as saying the Osbornes were blackmailing you. What do you mean by that?
Well, let me go back to, I think the Osbornes have been very badly advised by some of their supporters. In fact, their supporters had sent us an email where they threatened us by saying that they've got a story already written, and the first headline, I quote, will be KCDC blackmails hedge owners for $82,000. I mean, this is the type of thing. This is just part of the.
But what do you mean by that, Mr. Guru Nathan? I mean, how were the Osbornes blackmailing the council?
Well, if you understand blackmailing, to say, look, if you don't do what we say, we are going to go to the public and we are going to accuse you of blackmailing us. This is what it is.
Is that the Osbornes or the supporters who are saying this?
Well, the supporters have said this.
So not the Osbornes?
And it's copied to the Osbornes.
But so the Osbornes didn't blackmail the council, didn't make any threats?
Well, did I say the Osbornes were blackmailing us?
In the Fairfax article, you were quoted as saying they, in brackets, the Osbornes, are blackmailing the council to stop us from doing our job.
Was Rachel Osborne aware of the email that was sent to us?
So are you saying that you didn't? Are you retracting that?
No. We received this email, and that email threatened us with a story that undermined us, and I consider that as a threat of blackmail us to take action where we have our legitimate right to go and do what is needed for the community safety. Okay, so this is what's been happening. That's
a serious allegation, though, to say that some residents were blackmailing the council. Can you actually back that up?
What do you mean? I've just told you.
So you've got the emails to show it?
I've got this email down here. And look, I've been threatened, when my column came out, they said, oh, it's defamation and stuff like that. I mean, really? Have you seen the column?
I have seen. Yes,
no, I think what Radio New Zealand needs to do is go down there and go and have a look at the place. You can then see what exactly has happened and the condition of the hedge, the condition of the situation there. And I'll tell you what you should really do is talk to the older residents at 82 Timona Road, and they will tell you the nightmare that they had to go through for more than 2 years. They've been living there for 15 years. Why don't you do that?
Yes, well, we have tried to get hold of the residents at number 82 and we haven't been able to reach them. But did you gag them? Did you actually stop them from talking to the Osbornes?
Look, if you see the two of the emails that I received for them, the more recent one on the 29th of May, these are not people these are very high, these are highly intelligent people, and nobody's going to go and gag them, and the council has got no power to go and gag them.
So the council didn't tell them not to speak to the Osbornes?
I don't think so.
At all?
I don't think so. Why would we go and say that?
How many times have you actually met the Osbornes to try to sort out the situation?
I went there once to meet them on site.
Because
I've had email exchanges with some of their supporters, and if you see those emails, they are abusive.
So, is that enough, do you think?
What is enough?
To meet them once?
Well, at that point then it became what I consider to be an operational matter.
Mr. Gurunathan, is the problem with the Osbornes or their supporters?
Well, look, the problem is with the trees that have been planted on council land, which has then started encroaching on the berm and into the road. That's what the problem is.
The thing is that there's no pathway along there, is there?
It depends how you define a pathway. A pathway is where people can walk. Whether the pathway is a concreted one or a berm with grass, they're two different matters. People walk where they want to, and that's the pathway.
But there's no actual footpath along that side of the road at all.
How do you define a footpath?
A concreted pathway.
Right, that's your definition of.
But I think that would be most people's definition of a pathway.
But if a person is walking along there, they need safety. They can walk on the berm, not on the road. I mean, that's a common sense. That's common sense approach.
Will you apologise to the Osbornes for the things that you've said in public about them?
What is it that I've said that needs an apology? Look, I'm open to say, look, in a situation like this, I'm really sorry because I know, and I've told you before, that I consider that hedge to be quite a magnificent landscape, if you like, down there. And I know the amount of love they lavished on it. But it's unfortunate because council is in a position, the local authorities, looking after the welfare of the whole community. And therefore, sometimes what happens, and let me read you something that the Davis has said, which I think, and I read you this paragraph right at the end. This is from the 2nd of February. And it says, Vince argued then, as he continues to argue now, that any cuts serious enough to overcome the present hazard will compromise the beauty of this hedge. We say, in a civilized community, the need for the safety of the citizens should outweigh an uncompromising desire to preserve every part of the hedge, no matter how vulnerable.
Do you regret that this has turned into a very public and personal stoush?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's Kapiti District Mayor K. Gurunathan.